How about now? Thank you. How about now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Is that better? Can hear when you fumble with your camera, but no audible sound. Unbelievable. Oh, it is better. Okay. Yay! All right. Thanks, Julie. This is the third time I'm trying to do this. But at least you can hear me now. Great. Wonderful. Okay. Just let me know if anything changes, okay? I'm going to go ahead and start, but let me know. All right. So we are here today to talk about how to write product descriptions for your products and services that will impress customers, get them to stop scrolling by you, and have them just kind of liking who you are and wanting to know more about it. And incidentally, all this stuff that I'm going to talk about, these tips, these techniques, are going to be, you can use them for any kind of copy that you want to do. Sales, Facebook posts, Instagram, Twitter, social media, emails, whatever. And I highly, highly recommend that you use them for all of your copy because it can only make it better. Okay, so let's dig in. So the first thing that you need to do is you need to write down the nasty, ugly, yucky, rough draft stuff that you are super self-conscious about and that you are afraid that you're not going to get it right the first time because, hint, you're not. It's supposed to be ugly. So give yourself permission to know that it's going to be ugly and revel in the fact that you're not going to be perfect at it. And it's okay. All right. Because you can't mold if you don't have clay to work with. All right. So let's get the clay down on the paper. Let's get that something to work with. Okay. All right. So you've got that. You know, we're taking the theme of tumblers this month with learning about how to write creative descriptions for products. So we're using tumblers in the craft arena as examples. Okay. So what you're going to do, you have your rough draft, you know roughly what you want to say about the tumbler. And one of the first mistakes that people make is that they start writing all about the features. They start saying the size and how much it, holds, or, what color it is, or what brand or style it is. And while that's all great and it's important, it's not something that emotionally connects you with the customer. It's not something that's going to bring the customer to your door waiting for the next product to launch. Okay. The customer needs to know how your product is going to change their life or improve it in some way, how it's going to affect their life. And it is our responsibility as people who are selling products, services, to explain that. You can never leave this up to a customer to imagine their life with your product. You have to do that for them, okay? So you have your rough draft, ugly little clay, and you're going to start molding it. And one of the first things you're going to do, took notes, one of the first things that you're going to do is you're going to take any overused word, big, tall, fat, skinny, those words that use to summarize our thoughts. We're used to talking in summarized words. We try to get to the destination in the shortest time possible using summary words. But in writing, we actually need to reverse that. We actually need to kind of expand a little bit on what we're talking about and take our time expressing what that looks like. The entire secret to creating products and services is to tell a story, provide a journey to the reader, get them to see themselves inside this journey, this story, and get them to understanding how your product relates to them. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do, write your rough draft, as ugly as it needs to be, go back, each overused words, verbs, and nouns that are just, bland, that don't really paint that picture, go to thesaurus.com, type that word in, and see what synonyms you can find that are more what I call high wattage or high voltage words to replace them instead. Okay, so that alone will dramatically improve your copy. It will completely up-level it And you'd be surprised. It sounds simple enough, but it really will make a difference, okay? So the second thing you want to do is, I call it think outside your context or industry, but it's kind of like metaphors, analogies. You want some of that in there because it goes a long way to showing how you provide that story. Okay, so think outside of what you're talking about, your context, your industry, the tumblers, okay? If your tumbler is a 30-ounce tumbler cup and it holds a lot of liquid, what other things in life in general hold a lot of liquid or hold a lot of mass, okay? Does the Pacific Ocean, for example, does that hold a lot of mass? Okay, the Grand Canyon, is it as big as that? So jump into comparing it to something else so that your reader can be put into an instant picture of, wow, okay, so you've shown them, not just told them what it is, but you've shown them by triggering a picture in their own head of exactly what you're talking about when you're talking about size, for example, okay? So does that make sense? Because again, these seem like small little things, but they're absolutely necessary. That is what separates you from any other person trying to create copy that is just kind of blah and boring. And we all kind of tend to gravitate toward what everybody else is doing. And I'm telling you, if you just do the 3 things I'm covering today, you'll automatically step yourself up that much higher than everybody else. And you only need to be that 1% ahead of everybody else to get noticed. Okay, so that's 2. So 3 is dial in the hyperbole, which means dial in the exaggeration. So again, if the tumbler holds a lot of liquid, you could compare it to the Pacific Ocean, but try to exaggerate whatever you're talking about in the sense of making it big. Like, go to those extremes to describe it in that way. Not only does it paint the picture, but it really does the legwork to shaping your personality to the reader. And I find that most of the job of selling things through writing is not describing the product, or even, you know, part of it is storytelling, but the other part of it is just the way in which you write shows the reader your personality. And honestly, we all want to buy from people we like. So the people that I follow, the copywriters, the writing that they do that I love, I've noticed they have that in common. They make you fall in love with them through their personality and their writing. And you don't have to be you don't have to major in English or have all this experience in that. You can just use those 3 simple things that will tweak any piece of copy to make it interesting. So the first one again was to write outside your context or industry. Think of something to kind of compare it to, like a metaphor. All right. So the second one is take any word. Oh, you know what I think? Okay. Let me elaborate on number 2. The third one I told you was to exaggerate everything. Let me go back to the second one real quick. So yes, you're going to replace it with high voltage words. That is something important. So maybe this is like number 4. Another way that you can really stand out, show that personality, really build on that, is to take the word and say what it is instead. So if I said, I walked my dog, I could instead say, I walked my furry little pee machine. Do you see what I'm saying? You're literally describing what it is without, again, using a summarized word for it. And now it becomes fun and quirky and playful, right? Instead of dog, which is boring, which your brain's job is to see patterns. Okay, so that's why you're able to scroll through and you skip, keep scrolling until you bump on something that stands out, that's different from what you're used to seeing. Your brain is constantly forming patterns as it's reading and grouping those patterns. So when you write in a way that interrupts those brain patterns, they stop and reread. And that's what you want. You want people to stop, reread, just so they make sure, did I read that right? Is that what she really said? What is she talking about? Let me find out more. Does that make sense? You want to make sure your goal is to get them to keep reading all the way to the end to what you have to say. And in order to do that, you have to interrupt those brain patterns so that they are inquisitively stopping and rereading and figuring out what you're talking about to the end. So I hope that makes sense. So if you have any questions, make sure that you put them in the thread. I'll be happy to answer them after I get off here, unless you leave them now. But I hope that that really helps. And again, you can use these anywhere, on Facebook posts, all of that. I am really, really, really excited to talk about this product descriptions and how to write them this week. It is extremely powerful when you can implement just these few tips that I'll be sharing with you all week. I mean, that alone, like I said, and product descriptions are the perfect place to start because they tend to be small, you know, a paragraph or two at the most. So you can really, really, really practice with these and implement them and see. But I encourage you to try. Use just these 3 tips that I covered today. Try them out and see how it works for you in your Facebook posts, in your Instagram posts. See if your level of likes and hearts and interaction increases. All right. And then come back and report and see, you know, tell me what you've done, because I can always offer feedback if you are wondering why something did hit or didn't hit quite the way that you thought it might. So anyway, after 3 attempts, this is somewhat short, but I think I got the point across of what you need. Think outside your context or industry. Take any word and say what it really means instead, and dial up the hyperbole or exaggeration. Okay, it takes a tiny, tiny bit more time than just writing something and hitting post, but it's really worth it when you're talking about trying to attract people to your products and services. All right, so I hope that helps. I will talk to you soon. Have a great Monday evening. Bye.